In the complex ecosystem of global commerce, the Made In label on a product only tells a fraction of the story. Behind every smartphone, a life-saving medication, or automotive component lies a sophisticated internal agreement between a parent company, the principal, and its manufacturing entities. In the world of multinational enterprises, how you structure your manufacturing operations is more than a logistical choice. It is a tax and strategic decision. Welcome to Taxplained, explaining taxes so you can minimize your tax burden and maximize your freedom. Starting with the toll manufacturer, the high-efficiency service provider. Think of a toll manufacturer as a specialist chef who cooks a meal using ingredients that you bought and you brought to their kitchen. In this model, the manufacturer does not own the raw materials and they certainly do not own the finished products. They are strictly a service provider. The principal in this case retains title to the inventory throughout the entire process. The toll manufacturer's job is to provide the toll, the equipment, the labor, and the factory space to process those materials. Because they do not own what they make, they carry almost zero inventory risk or market risk. If the price of raw materials spikes or the final product fails to sell, the toll manufacturer is shielded from that risk. Consequently, their compensation is typically a fixed service fee. From a transfer pricing perspective, this is a low-risk, low-reward model. It is highly efficient for MNEs that want to centralize their global procurement and intellectual property while utilizing specialized local labor. Then there is the contract manufacturer, routine production entities. The contract manufacturer is a step up in complexity. Unlike the toller, the contract manufacturer usually handles the procurement of raw materials, though they do so under the strict instruction and guarantee of the principal. They take temporary ownership of the inventory, but the market risk firmly remains with the parent company or principal. Imagine an automotive parts factory in Eastern Europe. They receive blueprints and a guaranteed purchase order from a global car brand. They buy the steel, stamp the parts, and sells them back to the principal at a pre-arranged price. Their primary risk is operational. If their machines break down or they manage their labor properly, their margins shrink. However, they don't have to worry about whether the car model itself is a hit with consumers. Because they perform more functions than the toller, such as procurement and inventory management, also owning inventory, they typically earn a cost-plus return, a markup on their total manufacturing costs. This provides a predictable and stable profit that reflects their role as a routine producer rather than a market gambler. And then lastly, there is the full-fledged manufacturer, the industrial entrepreneur. You could see it as the top of the food chain where the fully-fledged manufacturer sits. This entity is a powerhouse that operates with significant independence. They don't follow orders. They own the entire life cycle of production. They perform their own R&D, source their own materials from third parties, manage their inventories, and often handle their own marketing and distribution strategies. Take, for example, a major pharmaceutical subsidiary. For example, it might own its patents for a specific drug, manage the complex regulatory approval process in its region, and bear the massive financial risk if a clinical trial fails or if a competitor launches a generic alternative. In the eyes of the tax authorities, the fully-fledged manufacturer is an entrepreneur because they shoulder the biggest risk, namely market volatility, credit risk, and technological obsolescence. They are entitled to the residual profits. After every other participant in the supply chain, like the tollers or distributors, have been paid their routine share, whatever is left belongs to the fully-fledged entity. Of course, if business loses money, they are also the one who bears the loss. The friction between MNEs and tax authorities usually happens when the labels don't match the actions. This is the core of transfer pricing. If a company claims a subsidiary is a toll manufacturer and therefore pays a very small fee, but that entity is actually designing the products and managing the global supply chain, tax authorities will see a misalignment of value creation. The OECD's base erosion and profit shifting initiatives have made it clear. Profits must be taxed where the actual economic activity and decision making occur. It's not enough to have that signed contract. You must be able to prove who actually controls the risks, who decides how much to produce, who decides which suppliers to use, who has the significant people functions to manage the manufacturing process. The rise of smart factories is adding a new layer to these definitions. If a contract manufacturer uses proprietary AI software provided by the principal to optimize its floor, does that lower its functional profile? Or, on the other hand, if a fully fledged manufacturer invests in its own Internet of Things infrastructure to revolutionize its yields, how does that affect its intangibles? Furthermore, in an era of trade wars and supply chain disruptions, the risk profile of a manufacturer can really change overnight. A contract manufacturer that suddenly has to find alternative raw materials because of a blockade is taking on more entrepreneurial risk than their contract might have originally envisioned. Whether you are a toll, fully fledged, or contract manufacturer depends on your appetite for risk, your need for control, and your global tax strategy. Each has its place in a healthy M&E, but the golden rule remains: your documentation must be good and as good as your operations. By clearly defining these roles, you protect your business from tax audits and create a transparent, efficient path to global growth.